This is part 140 of ASP.NET tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss creating a simple image gallery using ASP.NET and C#. This is how we want our image gallery to look like. We want a file upload control and a button. Using these two controls, the end user will be able to upload an image. Once the user uploads an image, no matter what's the original size of the image, we want to scale it down to 100 pixels in width and 100 pixels in height, and then add it to this panel control. And the images within this image gallery should be rendered as links, meaning the user should be able to click on an image. Once the user clicks on an image, we should redirect the user to another page where they can see the original image, and on that page we need this button back to gallery. So when the user clicks on this button, we want to redirect the user back to the gallery. And the images that I used in this demo are available at this Microsoft link. I've downloaded a few of them to this specific folder. Alright, so let's flip to Visual Studio. So here I have a blank ASP.NET application. So first of all, let's add a data folder to this project. So this folder is going to store all the uploaded images. So let's call it data. And then I already have webform1.aspx. First of all, on this web form we need a file upload control, and then we also need a button control. And then we need a panel control. Basically, this dotted border that you have, it's a panel control. So we'll be adding our images to this panel control. Let's drag and drop a panel control as well. And then let's set the text on this button to upload. And then let's set properties to this panel control. Okay, first of all, we want to set the border style. We want to set it to dashed, and we want to set border color to maybe blue. And then we want to set the width of this panel control to 440 pixels. Alright, so once we click this upload button, that's when we want to upload the user image and then add it to this panel control. So let's double click on that to generate the event handler. Alright, so to upload the image that the user has selected within the file upload control, first of all, let's check if there is a file within the file upload control. And how do we do that? If file upload one.has file. So this property is going to return true or false. If it returns true, then we know the file upload control has got a file which we need to upload. So first of all, to upload the file, let's get the file name. So file name is equal to file upload one.file name would give us the file name. And then what we need to do, we need to upload that file to this data folder. And to do that, again, we're going to use file upload one control dot. It has got this posted file property, which will be the file that the user has selected within the upload control. So save that posted file. So we are basically invoking save as. So this method is going to save that posted file to whichever path we are going to specify here. So we want to save that file to this data folder. And how are we going to get hold of this data folder? We're going to make use of server.map path function. We discussed about this function in the previous sessions of this video series, so please watch that video if you're new to this function. So where is that folder present? It's present within the root directory, so I'm going to use this syntax ~/data. So within the root directory we have this data folder. So that's the folder to which I want to save the image. But what is the name of the image going to be? That is present in this variable. So let's pass that to this function. So these two lines of code should upload the image to that data folder. Once the image is uploaded, what we need to do, we need to loop through that data folder, and whatever images that we have, we need to add all those images to the panel control. Okay, so basically to loop through a folder in .NET, we use the classes that are present in system.io namespace. So let's go ahead and include that namespace, system.io. And now to loop through each file within a folder, let's use a for each loop. So for each string, let's call this variable as str file name. In there's a class called directory class, and this class has got this method get files, which is going to return the file names that are available within that directory as a string array. So we have to give the path of the directory. Again, how are we going to get the path of the directory? Use server.mapPath function. So basically, this one line of code here is going to loop through each file within this data folder. Okay, and then what we need to do, we need to add the image to this panel control. Now we are not going to use image control. Instead, we are going to use image button. That's because if we use an image control, it will only display the image. It will not be clickable. But our requirement here is we want to display a thumbnail within the image gallery, but then that thumbnail should be clickable. Upon clicking that, we want to redirect the user to another page where he can see the original image. So that's the reason why we'll be using image button control instead of image control. So, and we have to add those image buttons dynamically to this panel control. So let's go ahead and create an instance of image button, and let's call it image button. Alright, now for the image button to display an image, we need to set image URL property. But to get the image URL property, we know that the images are present in this directory, but we also need the name of the image within that. So this variable has got the full path of the image, but we don't want the full path. We only need the file name. So what we can do is we can use another class, file info, and let's call the variable as file info. So if you give the full path of the file, this class is going to return us the metadata of that file, like the name of the file, the size of the file, the extension of the file, etc. So this variable has got the full path of the file. We are going to pass that to this object, and this file info will give us the name of the file. So now let's go ahead and set image URL property of image button object. So image URL equals ~data / and how do we get the name of the file within that folder? We can use this file info object dot name should give us the name of the image. So within the root directory, this data folder, within that, whatever file you have got, return that file name, and we are setting that as the image URL for the image button. Now the next thing is we want the width of the image button and the height of the image button to be 100 pixels. So we need to set the width and the height. So let's go ahead and do that. So image button dot width, and if you look at this width property, this expects the width to be set in units. So I'm going to use this unit class, and again this has got a static method pixel where you can specify the pixels in integer format. So I want the width to be 100 pixels, and similarly we want the height to be 100 pixels. Alright, and the next important thing, if you look at these images, there's a space between each image that is added, and then there is also the space between the border of this panel and within the image. So to get that space or that padding, we have to set a property. So, and how do we set the properties? Image button dot style dot add. So we need to specify the style key and the value for that style. So what's the style? We want to set padding for the image button, and how much you want the padding to be? 5 pixels. Alright, and the next important thing is our requirement. When I click this image button, obviously there should be an event handler associated with that image button, and that event handler should be executed, and within that event handler we are going to write the code to redirect to another page to display the image. So basically we need to attach the event handler to the click event of this button control. Okay, and keep in mind these buttons are dynamically added, so we need to hook up the event handlers also dynamically. So image button dot click. So to the click event of the image button plus equals, so basically to the click event of this image button, hook up this event handler. That's what we are telling here. Okay, so we will implement this function in just a bit. Alright, so the next step is to actually add this image button to this panel control. Okay, and the ID of the panel control is panel1. So panel1.controls.add, we want to add the image button control. So let's pass that to this function. That's it. At this point, we should be able to upload an image, and then at the same time we should be able to add that image to the panel control. Let's actually run this and see if it works as expected. So obviously this folder has got all the images. So at the moment we don't have any images within the folder. That's why the panel control is displayed like this. So let's go ahead and select an image, and let's click upload. Look at that, the image is added. And keep in mind, we also have hooked up an event handler. Now let's say we'll simply use response.write and see if this event handler is working as expected. So when I click that button, what I basically want to do is I want to write something onto the page. We will see if this event handler is getting executed at all. Alright, let's save the changes, let's build it, let's reload this page, let's click upload. Let's actually upload another page, another file. So we got that as expected. Let me click this button. Look at that, the event handler is not executed. Let me click this upload button. So the images are displayed. Now when I click this image button, so obviously there is an event handler associated with that. So this is the event handler. So this event handler should be executed, and that should write this message onto the web page. But is it doing it? Look at this. When I click this button, so this is an image button. So obviously when we click this, the web form is posted back. But the event handler is not doing what it is supposed to do. Why is that? That is basically because, keep in mind, these controls are dynamically added. So obviously when we click this upload button, the controls are dynamically added, the event handlers are hooked up, but then when I click this button now, the web form is going to be posted back to the server. So this is a fresh request to the server. So at that point, it doesn't know about these dynamically created controls and the event handlers that are associated with that. So it's a brand new request. So it forgets all that, and that's why we have this blank page. So we have to fix this issue first. And to fix that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to extract this piece of code into its own method. So let me right click on that, and let's select refactor, extract method, and let's call this upload image. So we have a function here, upload image. So what I'm going to do is, notice that instead of invoking this upload image within the button control, I'm actually going to invoke that within the page load event. And then within the button control, after we upload the image to this data folder, I'm simply going to redirect the user to the same page. And I'll tell you in a bit why we are going to do that. So let's redirect the user to the same page. Look at this. This is webform 1. So we are going to redirect the user to the same page, webform1.aspx. And this is going to solve our problem. Okay, so basically what's happening here, with this change, let's actually run this and see if this event handler gets fired, and then I'll explain why it works now. Okay, so first of all, look at this. As soon as the web form loads, it checks the folder, whatever images it has got, it has added them to this panel control. Now look at this. When I click this image, look at that button click. When I click this image, the same message. So the event handlers are executed. That's basically because, look at this. When are these images added? These images are added within the page load event. So within the page lifecycle in web forms, so page load happens before the button click event. So within the page load event, we are adding image buttons, associating the event handlers, and then as part of the same request, we are clicking the button control. So that's why at this point it's able to remember the image controls and the event handlers that are hooked up to each image control. Okay, that's why it's working now as expected. Let's actually make a simple change here. Instead of writing button clicked, let's go ahead and do something dynamically here. Now look at this. This image button click event handler, this gets fired for each image that is there within the panel control. So obviously when we click this image, this event handler gets fired. So here the sender parameter is nothing but the image button that has raised that event. So we know that the sender here is actually an image button control. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to typecast this sender to be of type image button, because we know sender is of type image button. And then image button has got a property image URL. So I'm simply writing the image URL there. So let's now run this and click on the image and see if we get the image URL or not. Look at that, tilde/data, that's the name of this image, and when I click this, that's the name of this image. So all that is left right now is to redirect and display this image. So instead of doing response.write, what I'm going to do is response.redirect, and let's run this. Okay, so here we have the image. Let me click on that. So I'm redirected to this image page. Look at that, localhost web forms data folder, and we are displaying the image on this web page. But we don't want this. We want a button control on another web form, and then on that page we want to display the image, and then once we click that button, we want to redirect the user to the gallery. So we want a button as well. So instead of simply displaying the web form in the browser like this, let's actually add another web page. Let's call it webform2.aspx, and within this web form I want a button control, and let's set the text on this button to something like back to gallery, and obviously let's include a break here, and then maybe another break, and then an image control. So this image is going to display the original image, and then maybe let's also include another button at the bottom. But before we do that, let's actually flip to the design mode. Let's double click this button control, and actually let's make a copy of this button. So we actually have a button on the top and the bottom. Okay, now when we land on this web form, what we need to do, we need to display the image, the original image, within this image control. Right now, first of all, let's go back to webform1.aspx. So instead of redirecting to the image URL, what we are going to do is we are going to redirect to webform2.aspx, and then we are going to associate a query string with this URL, and let's call it maybe image URL. So this query string is going to contain the path of the image. So image URL equals the image URL. And then on webform2, when the webform2 loads up, what we are going to do, we are going to harvest the image path from the query string and then display it within the image control. So how are we going to get the query string value? We can use request.queryString, and we are going to get the query string value from the URL. And what is the name of the query string? It's image URL. Okay, so that will give us the image URL. So what we are going to do with that image URL, we're going to set the image1 controls image URL property to that value. That's it, we're done. And then obviously, actually it's not in the button click event, we have to do that within the page load event. Within the button click event, what we need to do, we need to redirect the user back to the gallery page. So response.redirect, to which page we want to redirect the user, webform1.aspx. Alright, so let's build this, and let's actually navigate to webform1.aspx. Let's close all the other browsers. Okay, let's upload another image. So upload, so we have a new image here. Let's select any of these images. Now look at that, for some reason it doesn't work, but we'll fix that in just a bit. So we are saying redirect the user to webform2.aspx, and we are setting image URL equals whatever, but there is a space there. Let's get rid of that space and it should work. So when we are redirecting, so let's get rid of that space. So within webform2, we're getting the image URL from the query string and setting the image URL property of the image. So let's run this once again. Let's actually go back to webform1 page. Let's click on this. Look at that, it works as expected. And then you have this button back to gallery, which when you click, you should be back at this page. So let's upload a new file. Let's click that, and look at that. You get the original image back to gallery. And one more thing to notice, look at that, the first row is filled up. So if I am going to add a new image, that should be added to the second row, and the height of the image gallery should be automatically expanded. Look at that, I click that and we come to the original image. Alright, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.